All right, so thanks everyone for coming out. My name is Doug Petkanics. I'm one of the co-founders of Livepeer, where we've been building the world's open video infrastructure for the last 7+ years. Really excited to be putting on this Limitless event today. We think that generative AI is going to unleash a whole new wave of potential on the world. And I'm going to give a talk about how crypto and decentralization can actually play a key role in unleashing sort of limitless access to this really, really important and transformative technology. We'll be talking a little bit about how fast AI is accelerating and how important compute is. We're going to be talking about what crypto brings to actually represent solutions to those challenges and give everyone a really exciting glimpse at the future of AI media in particular. We've heard about many elements in the AI stack today already. Data, model creation, consumer applications on top. I'm really excited about some of the startups that are going to talk after this and present what they're doing, and we're going to have a startup builder panel that address some of those elements of the stack. I'm going to address more the inference element of the stack, and that's the type of compute that's needed to actually ask questions of models, get answers. That's the use case that applications will run millions and millions of times in response to user actions or as they're sort of getting insights and doing analysis on data, and that's where people need to scale up and down really quickly based on user demand. And I'll talk about how crypto networks and Livepeer in particular can represent solutions for that. So, first of all, I hope no one disagrees with this statement. AI is rapidly accelerating. If you've paid attention to how fast this industry moves, it's mind-blowing, right? If you look back to just 2 short years ago, you see that we saw some of the first mainstream consumer-oriented applications of generative AI when it came to text-based LLMs. OpenAI released ChatGPT, and all of a sudden it became the fastest growing consumer product of all time, with everyone typing prompts, asking questions, and getting AI-generated answers from LLMs, right? It didn't take long. Within 6 months, 12 months, we start to see going up to richer forms of media from text. All of a sudden, image generations were possible through models like DALL-E 2, Stable Diffusion released their open image generation model. Midjourney became one of the also fastest consumer growing products of all time through their Discord-based image generation bot. And now instead of just typing prompts and getting text back, you could type prompts and get really rich images back. And you could see how powerful this is for creators. No surprise, richer forms of media became available. Earlier this year, really groundbreaking, eye-opening moment, OpenAI again dropped demos, not even a model, but demos for their Sora video generation model. And you could now type a prompt and get back a really rich HD, production quality video, 10 to 30 seconds long, that otherwise would have taken cameras, helicopters, drones, producers, lighting, cameras, etc. Now all of a sudden can be created simply via a prompt. And you can imagine how much that's going to change many industries, from advertising to entertainment to communication and beyond, right? This is really transformative, powerful technology, but it actually doesn't come for free. There's a tremendous compute cost. This graph shows basically like the amount of compute that's required for text, for images, for video. And it costs, 100 to 1,000 times more to do, a couple seconds of video generation than it does just to get a text or image prompt output. So really powerful, transformative technology, but requires a tremendous amount of compute. And I think if you've been paying attention, you see that sort of open access to this compute and the lack of open access to this compute right now actually is stifling innovation, because a lot of this compute is controlled by a few big tech companies who also own proprietary models, and there's real supply chain constraints. If you look at the sort of the company that's the best proxy for compute in this space, it's NVIDIA. They make the GPUs that go into training and running inference on these models at the high end. And if you look at the growth in their data center business, you see one of the most mind-blowing charts in business, which is they've grown from 1, 2, 3 billion a quarter in selling data center GPUs to very quickly growing to 10, 16, 20, 24, I think $26 billion last quarter just in sales for their data center GPUs. And they're supply constrained by TSMC. You actually can't get access to buy these GPUs unless you're doing like $100 million plus buys. And over half of this purchasing came from the four big US tech companies alone. Data center operators who have these GPUs, if startups want to access them, they have to make reservations for 6 months or a year's worth of capacity or dramatically overpay to access it. And you see how that could be prohibitive or non-existent for a startup, a hacker, an innovator, or researcher that wants to sort of burst at scale unless they're doing a reservation. And so this creates a huge constraint. It's actually not the only blocker for access right now. There's actually regulatory constraints as well. In the United States, where I'm from, there's actually an executive order signed by the president that is being put into effect that's limiting access. It's saying data centers have to reveal the identities of the purchasers of their compute power if they're foreign nationals. It's saying that if you want to train an open model, you're constrained by how much compute you can use to train it. There's vague testing requirements, and there's actually kind of non-specific content restrictions on what type of content you can train on, do inference on, and you see this in effect of inserting biases into models. So unsurprisingly, these regulations are being lobbied for by the big tech companies that actually have the lead, have the proprietary models, and have all the compute. They're the ones with the $100 million legal teams that can comply with the 7 different government agencies you have to register with if you want to do AI compute, but no startup or innovator has the ability to do that. It's almost a non-starter. So all this creates limited access. You see quotes like Elon Musk saying GPUs are harder to get than drugs. You see Facebook making multi-hundred million dollar buys, billion-dollar investments in buying the NVIDIA chips, and really is stifling innovation. So how do we reconcile all of this? What can crypto and decentralized technology and Web3 do to solve this issue? I'd represent that decentralized AI is critically important. It represents the opportunity for acceleration accessible to the rest of us outside of a few big tech companies. And it's really made possible by a couple of the superpowers that tokens, tokenized coordination, and decentralized physical infrastructure networks bring to the space. I think there's a few key superpowers that are really important to recognize. The first and most, I think, powerful is that tokenization and crypto economic incentives represent the opportunity to build a massively scaled infrastructure before there's actually significant demand. It helps you solve the chicken and the egg problem and make sure that there's significant compute available so that developers have a good experience and can burst up and down as they go. And this would be really, really challenging or impossible in the centralized world. If you want to build a centralized compute infrastructure, you have to invest tremendous amounts of capital to buy GPUs, deploy them in data centers, hook them up with bandwidth, all before you've signed a single customer to use them. How does tokenization do this? How do crypto economics do this? What you've seen time and time again is that decentralized networks that tokenize will be distributing their tokens over time to node operators that bring compute onto their networks and make it available and compete to provide jobs. And you can say speculation is sort of a double-edged sword. Obviously when people over-speculate on the value of crypto assets, you see bubbles, you see values go up and then crash, and that creates negative effects. But it also creates a really healthy, powerful effect in that, when these potential node operators who have GPUs are bringing them to crypto networks and putting them on, they're actually sort of speculating that, hey, I'm earning these tokens. That represents ownership in the network. That represents the ability to earn fees on these networks in the future. Because of that, I'm willing to bring my capacity in advance before there's significant demand. And it actually leads to sort of the second benefit is cost, because these tokens have perceived value that you're earning when you put your capacity on the network. It means that you can actually charge less to perform AI inference or other forms of compute than you would need to if you didn't have any speculative token incentives coming in. So combine that with the competition of all different node operators who happen to have idle GPUs sitting around to say, hey, I want to earn tokens and I want to earn the fees, but to do that, I have to compete on price with the other participants in these open marketplaces. You actually see price competition lead to really, really cost-effective compute on decentralized networks. When you have that cost effectiveness, you sort of get these other superpowers. You get reliability because there's no single points of failure, and you have the ability to afford redundancies. And I think the fourth superpower, something we've heard about in the investor panel, was that open access to these networks are preserved because there's no company that sits at the middle of them. They're coordinated by protocols. You have compute providers on this open network that are willing to do work all around the world as long as someone shows up with a digital crypto-based on-chain payment to pay for them. And that's very, very different than a single data center in the US needing to only provide compute capacity to a registered US company based on what one government agency said. So I think those are the superpowers that crypto and tokens can bring to the network. I think the results are open access infrastructure that are really critical for this innovation to occur on top of this really powerful technology, and they're going to play a key role in the future. I'm going to talk for a few minutes just about how Livepeer has been thinking about this space. I mentioned we're a video infrastructure network, and we've been sort of one of the original DePIN projects. We've been live on Ethereum and then Arbitrum for almost 7 years, and we've had an intense focus on video infrastructure. We have thousands of GPUs on our network that power millions of minutes of unique video transcoding or video-specific compute every single week, at a cost that's 10 to 50 times more cost effective than paying a lot of the leading SaaS cloud providers to do this video transcoding. And now we're really looking forward to, and have been applying this compute to the future of AI video, whether that's AI generated video, AI enhanced video workflows. We think AI, like it's going to touch every industry, is going to be hugely impactful in the future of media and the future of video. And we're really excited to see all of our node operators offering not just transcoding, but AI compute as well. So actually I have a bit of an announcement today. We're really excited to be launching Livepeer AI. We've had the early sort of alpha versions of these AI capabilities on the network, like the ability for users to send in prompts and get videos generated through video diffusion. Now we have a much more wider-facing developer release with easy-to-use SDKs and all the popular languages of your choice, hosted gateways so that developers and companies that don't want to run nodes or deal with crypto can just register for an API key or pay with a credit card. And really excited that we have a lot of inference on the open models like video diffusion, Flux from Black Forest Labs, Whisper, which is a popular captioning and subtitle generation model, speech-to-text model, that are being used across a range of early applications and startups that are building on Livepeer AI. We're going to hear from a few of them following this talk, and I'll highlight one or two now. We've really valued practicality at Livepeer from the very beginning. We know who our users are. They're video developers building sort of forward-thinking video applications, broadcast applications, streaming applications. Everything that we've built is not just some pie-in-the-sky dream that this is going to be the future perfect decentralized AI stack, but it's actually going to be capabilities that video developers use today. And really excited to see, just through a series of startups that sort of use the alpha and have built with us in a startup program, we're seeing the utilization of Livepeer AI grow already, with significant growth just in the last 2 weeks alone, as a bunch of the startups have integrated. So these numbers are not groundbreaking compared to what you might see from scaled SaaS companies, but they are actually pretty significant when it comes to looking at real utilization and uptick in Web3 protocols. Thousands of dollars a week, just 8 weeks into a capability on a network for real AI inference. Powering these these capabilities across a bunch of use cases, creator-centric applications like Origin Story that generate AI videos in the background of live concerts, or Regenerate, which we're going to hear from later today. We're seeing sort of synthetic data and training data generation, like with Supermodel and Katana. We're seeing agentic use cases like through Operator and Flipguard, where people are, have agents that are doing generative AI tasks and generating videos, generating memes, sharing into communities. So really powerful, and it's just a glimpse at the future. Wanted to do a quick touch on Supermodel, who's going to do a quick presentation, but just really excited about it. It's a sort of stealth app that's analyzing fashion data, fashion trend data, and they're using the Meta-released Segment Anything 2 model to basically look at videos, look at images, determine what items people are wearing, what the properties are, and using that to generate recommendations. And they're doing it across hundreds of thousands of requests at very low cost relative to the cloud. And we still have a long way to go to determine sort of open market pricing on Livepeer AI, which just launched, but really optimistic this is going to be highly cost effective. It's going to enable great recommendation data for them, and excited to hear more about what they're doing. So lastly, I just wanted to give a glimpse at sort of the future of AI media, and I want to remind everyone the space is accelerating so fast. What you see today is just scratching the surface. Video, one of the heaviest forms of media, is barely accessible in an open way through the models released so far, but it's moving so quickly. And when you look forward to 6 months, 12 months, 18 months out, it's really going to touch every industry. I just want to play a video that can inspire us all.
Physical interfaces dissolve as AI evolves, bridging the gap between ideas and execution, bringing visions to life at the speed of thought, where you can shape entire worlds with a gesture, responding to every move, every beat. A limitless canvas powered by generative AI, transforming imagination to reality. Livepeer AI, fueling creativity.
Cool. So little bit of looks like a commercial, right? But that whole thing was AI generated using different video generation tools. And you can just imagine what it would have taken without the assistance of those tools to create a 30-second video like that touched on all these different industries: fashion, gaming, creativity, video, etc. It would have taken a production team, weeks or months using a bunch of different technologies. Now it's a series of prompts and a few hours of video editing, and you can create something like that. And again, that's just scratching the surface. It hasn't even begun to evolve in terms of how good and complex these models are going to get. But if we're all going to be able to access those things, it requires open access networks, it requires cost-effective compute, and it requires a bunch of different layers in the stack to come together in composable ways. And I'm really excited about that future. That's what we're building at Livepeer. I think a bunch of other projects that we're going to hear from are also building towards that space. I think the time is now, because we see the proprietary closed big tech companies getting out ahead, having a lead, and we've seen what happened in the era of Web 2 when it came to social media and sort of attention aggregation, when they built those moats and had those advantages. I think Web 3's given us all the tools that we need: the open access networks, scalable L2s, on-chain payments, coordination through blockchain and tokenization. And I think now's the time that we need to put all those together to enable this AI future. So that's my talk. Thank you very much. If you're interested in Livepeer AI, we have a QR code you can scan there, fill out some information. We'll get back to you. But our team will also be here all day, all week, outside during the networking. So really excited. Just to give everyone a preview of what's to come, we're going to hear from some of the innovative startups building at the intersection of on-chain and AI for a few moments. We'll have one more panel focused on builders in this space, and then we'll have some closing remarks, and we'll break for networking after that. So thank you everyone very much.